Hi everyone, good evening. How you doing, guys? All good? It's been a couple of weeks since we last had an episode here on Complair, but today is number 20. Can't believe that it's already 20 episodes. This means more or less 20 weeks. It's actually more than 20 weeks, and it's all because of you. Thank you so much for all your support as usual. Today, actually, we have new things happening, and I'm going to reveal some of them while we go. So we have a new chat. Wow, so many messages. So it's easier for me. Not only it's faster, it's easier for me to see who's talking. But yes, this is part of one of the news today, and we also have a new segment that we're going to take a look today as well. And we have also our very first giveaway. So this will happen by the end of the show, so you'll have to wait if you want to be eligible to win. And also, the thing that I've been passing in the very beginning of the show, very soon, for those of you that registered already, for those of you who did that, I already sent you all a message saying that very soon I'll be able to reveal everything. So if you haven't registered yet, this is a good time to do it. Just go to complairvfx.com. Speaking of which, I also mentioned the last episode that we now have some official merchandising. So if you want to contribute to the show, this is a great way of doing it. So if you go to the website complairvfx.com, you'll be able to check everything that we have there available as well. So what else? So let's start obviously with the news, the usual news, which is a pandemic update, and things are not looking good at all, as we all know. So the big spikes in cases all around the world, especially in Europe, but all around the world really. And there's definitely, this is what the specialists are saying, that this is definitely the beginnings of a second wave. Because of that, countries are already doing different versions of lockdowns, can be more local or more generic, but this is definitely happening. And for example, France, for those of you who don't know, has mandatory curfew after 8 p.m. if I'm not mistaken. And UK has different tiers for local lockdowns. And in my country, in Portugal, cases are also on the rise quite a lot. So we've seen this movie before, right? We've seen this picture before. I still think that a vaccine might be possible. Of course, not for the general population, but I still think that it's going to be possible from what I'm reading until the end of the year. But we'll see what happens. Right, so technical highlight of the week. I've mentioned this channel before. It's by Chetal Gazdar. I'm sorry if I'm not saying this correctly. And it's basically a video about depth projection. It's an interesting take. Can be quite technical or somewhat technical, but I think it's very interesting. So let's go to the new. One of the news of today, but it's definitely the new segment that I told you about. So now I'm gonna open a new segment called Ask Away, which is basically me trying to answer some of your questions. So again, from now on, if you have questions like that, please put it in that channel. And today's one is actually about edges, which I'll be honest with you, it's something that I don't like that much to talk about because there's so many things out there regarding edges. Even though it's not my preference, it was actually something that I tried to do it in a slightly different way, probably that what you are used to, and hopefully you'll get the value out of it. Let me know what you think at the end of the video. But anyway, I hope you enjoy it, and let's inaugurate the Ask Away segment now in 2 seconds. So of course this is a really open question, and let me tell you that there's no perfect solution. That's the short answer. But I think there's a few things that we should talk about, because more than showing you solutions, I think it's best to show you what you should look out for, because the solution is the combination and the balance between three main areas that I want to call your attention to. So the three main areas I'm talking about are the matte, the spill, and additive. As an extra, we can also take in consideration the edge extent. So as I said, my intention here today is not so much showing you the perfect key, but rather show you what you should look up for when doing this process yourselves. It all starts with the matte, of course, and there's a few things that I would like to call your attention to. So in here, I have these two versions of the plate. I have one denoise and I have one with normal noise, and then I have this background in here. The fact that we have tracking markers in here, I'm just ignoring this fact, because what we're gonna look at is more about these edges, which was actually the question. Let's start with the key light, and this is the first thing that I would like to call your attention to. And I want to believe that this is not news for anybody who's watching this, but you should always do the matte extraction coming from a denoise plate rather than a noise plate. Here's what I have, but look what happens if you ignore this fact and put this on the noise plate. You see, there's good and bad with it. The first thing that is good is you have a lot of detail in here that you cannot have in here. So this is one of the first things to watch out for. Yes, it's best to do the matte extraction coming from the denoise plate, but in some areas you might want to use the noise plate without having any side effects like flickering to get all this detail. So in here, if I don't have any flickering, I would probably take advantage of some things in this side that I want to have as my matte. Of course, there's a lot of pollution in the background, so if I want to go on this route, I would probably have another one in here, and I would have to clean it slightly, either within the whatever tier you're using or with a color lookup, which is probably what I would do. If you compare now these two solutions, you see that one of them will have more detail than the other. This obviously, it's highly dependent on what was the method that you use or what was the tool that you use to do the denoise. But anyway, if you have differences like this, it's something to watch out for, and you can use a key mix to mix these two worlds just on the portions in which you want to take this more in consideration. Say for example this one here, so now we have this thing with more detail. But I want to call your attention for something, which is it's different if you do a normal key line directly from the plate as we are doing in here, or if you do it via a log version of the plate, whether it's the true log or an approximation log. At the moment I'm just going to put this log to lean. Of course now this here is not valid because the color that I was picking is no longer valid within the log version of my plate, so I will have to pick this one again. And what I'm trying to get at is the fact that this will also give you different result than this. You see that it's not the same, so you probably have a better fall off with the log version, and that's why these are the reasons why you should have a matte for the core and other mattes, whether it's one or more than one, for different parts of your edges. You want the fall off to be just right, but you don't want to introduce any holes in your matte, which is the case in this version. There's a lot of holes in here that you don't want for sure. So again, it's a matter of balancing different worlds to come up with the best of both of them. So I'm assuming that in this case I have the perfect core matte, which is probably not the case, but even if it's not the case, I'm not going to retweak this because I'm assuming that you know how to do these kind of things. It's very easy. So let's move on to the next part, which is the spill. So now that I have my matte, I now want to despill my plate, and this is also something that is going to influence your edges quite a lot, quite severely, and I see a lot of people failing at this stage. And where should you do the despill? Where you should do the despill on the denoise version of your plate, because if you do it on the noise version of the plate, you're possibly going to get artifacts. I'm going to show you what I mean by this. So I'm going to use my despill. You can use any despill you want, but look what happens if I do this on the noise version of the plate. Let's say that I don't want the match luminance, for example. So you see that all these artifacts in here will be introduced. So you see that this version has a lot of grain, for example, which is not the same as my actual plate. So you're introducing artifacts that you don't want to. So it's always safer to do the despill always on the denoise version. And then we're going to get the original noise back on top in a different stage. So this is another thing you want to watch out for edges, because if you do the despill on the noise version, you're going to get artifacts possibly in the edges as well. So now that I have my dispill version of my plate. Now I want to copy my matte to my dispill version of my plate, and then I want to use the pre-malt in here. Well, in here everything seems kind of alright, but we don't know for sure until we start mixing this with the background. So let's see what happens. I can see I still have possibly a little bit of grain and other problems in here. So the first thing to do is to come up with a method on the dispill version of your plate that not only will take the green away, but also will make the edge color closer or exactly the same as the edge color of your foreground. So whatever color you're putting on the background has to match the actual edge. Otherwise, you're going to get this transition that, depending on the background, might not be what you want. In this case in here, I can see that there's a fringe in here of green and other colors that are not desirable. For example, in here, I have this gray, see, coming from this background. We already covered this, so I don't want to repeat myself, but these two of mine have the ability of actually getting the background color with the same color as where the edge belongs. So here's the difference. If you don't have this being done in this way, looking at the final result, you're going to get these differences. You see this in here, for example, and in here in this fringe as well, and all around, really. So this is another thing you want to watch out for, which is how is your dispill being done? Do you have the right color closer to your edge, or you have a color that doesn't belong at all with your edge? Whether you have it or you don't have it, let's not forget that this version of the plate is going to be cut with the alpha that you have. So if you don't have enough detail in here, you're not going to get anything being shown anyway. So that's why it's important that you get all the detail possible at this stage as well. It's better to have it and then, make a decision whether or not you're going to use them all or you're going to use other processes to compensate for whatever problems you might have. But it's a very good starting point that you have all the detail possible. So in here, let's see the difference. If we don't mix these two, you see why this is important in here? So if you wouldn't mix this, you're not going to get this detail. So it's very important that you have all the detail possible on the matte side, and then, as I said, make a decision whether or not you're going to use them. Okay, so we just covered these two important aspects, matte and dispill, and hopefully you now understand how this can mean so much for your edges. So another thing you want to watch out for is how hard is your matte. Although yes, you can get a lot of detail, in this case the matte is really hard in some areas in here, which is this case. So different methods of keying gives you different results. And the reason is this transition here on your matte, as you can see now, it's really abrupt. The actual core part of the keyer is too strong and too abrupt in terms of value to that transition to the fall off. So you have to watch out for these situations as well. So let's go to the different pillar of what makes good edges, and let's now talk about the additive. So we're not going to get into so much how to do additive keying. We already discussed different methods anyway regarding additive keying. I'm going to use mine called Detail Catcher, and now I have all this detail, nice fall off, right colors, everything in here. Let me call your attention for something. At the moment, I'm using my plate with the noise in it to do this version of my additive, and what I'm going to get is probably double grain because I'm going to put another image on top of this one, and this one has already some grain in it, and that's why you should never do this in this way. What you should do is with the denoise version again. So now I don't have any noise, and now I have all this nice detail that otherwise I wouldn't get it the same way. I have all this nice detail in here. But look what this is also giving me. This will enhance the problem that I have in here anyway. This is making this problem even more apparent. So again, if you have all really well balanced on this side, when you go to this side of things, everything should fall just perfectly. But the thing is, we knew from the beginning that we had the problem in here, and we could see it even before we had the additive, that the problem was here. So if you don't take care of these things at the right time, when you are introducing other things, this will be even more apparent. Yes, you're going to get more detail, embedded detail in here, everything's really nice in here, but this will actually enhance the fact that you have bad edges rather than solving the problem. Let's assume that for the sake of argument that you did everything that you possibly could and you still have this problem. Let me tell you that that's not true. You can always do things at the matte level, and if you do things at the matte level, this will be just fine. But that's when the edge extend can help you. But there's very important things to take into consideration on this front. I strongly believe that if you have a good balance on all these three things, this will not be needed. But we know that in reality of productions, this will actually happen at some point. but you have to be very careful on how you do this and when you do this type of edge extent. So first of all, at the moment, we still are with the denoise plate, so that means that we don't have the original grain. So I'm going to put the original grain back on top. So now here, this will be the original grain. Another thing to take in consideration when you're dealing with this, which will also influence your edges, is whether or not you have a really visible fringing with some grain in it. I don't think that in this case this will show it, but take in consideration that sometimes this method, although it's the original grain, the fact that you have a fringe like this can introduce some edge problems. So very simply, what you can do is you can select just the edge of your character and just drop another dispel like this, and then with the key mix, you just say, I want this dispel just where this thing is. So now you're gonna get that being affected just on the edge. The rest remains intact. And this will be enough for you to not have that problem anymore on the edge, if that's the case, which in this case I don't think it was showing, but anyway, this will also influence your edges. But as I was saying, edge extent destroys your grain because it's based on blurs for the great majority of the time, or even if it's not blurs, it's distortion or something like that, which will destroy the integrity of your pixels, which will result in some blurriness. Let me show you what I mean. So I'm going to use mine. Okay, you can use whatever edge extent you want. You see that my pixels are getting a little bit blurred. So if you definitely need to do this, you have to do this in a very wise way. By wise, I mean, to start with, don't do this with the noise. We know that we have the noise available somewhere else. And then let's say that this is okay. So I'm just going to put this as a final result. And then I'm going to unpremult this again. So I have the maximum range in terms of canvas to play with. And then I'm going to put my noise back on top. Now I want to copy my alpha coming from my key. And then I want to premult this again. Okay, so this way I'm making sure that I'm not applying anything on the pre-molted version. I'm introducing the original grain, but before, that's when I should do my edge extent, not after, because it's going to destroy my grain again. So all of these things will influence on not only the detail that you're going to get, but also the quality of your edges. Now I can play with this in a safe way. So here's what I need to do. First of all, this tool of mine is based on a exponential growth of your pixels. So this will actually give you very good results, as if it was very organically coming from the actual edge. See that I have all of those variations in color. So let's see what will work if you don't have this. Yes, it's much better, okay? But you should only apply this where it's strictly necessary. You have to be very surgical in terms of where you are applying this, because if you apply this over everything, you're gonna get artifacts that you don't want to. And I call your attention for example, what's happening in here. You see that this is now altering the aspect of your actual plate. So this, it's not the same as this. So you have to be very careful on where you apply this. So at the moment, I just want to apply this in this area. So I'm just going to drop a rotor shape, and I'm just going to put the rotor shape where I need it. Then with the key mix, I'm just going to say that I want this pixel stretch just on that region there. Okay, let me rearrange this a little bit better. So now if we go on and off, you see that you have that problem being taken care of just where it's a problem and not anywhere where it's not a problem. So now what you do as a final check is you're gonna get a wipe to see what else you need to do. But as you know, it's a combination of all of these things. At the moment, it seems like we have a nice level of detail done very quickly, so things could be definitely better, but it's not bad as a starting point. I still think that this area here would require a little bit more help on the matte side of things, for example. In this area here, it's also a little bit too hard still, but it's basically how you do it in terms of balancing all of these aspects. Again, it's not my intention to show you the perfect key, although this is not bad as a starting point, but it's more about telling you how to balance all these things out, because this shouldn't be a complicated process at all. This should be actually very simple with very simple processes, but this is more about the balance on all these three factors in here. This for me is extra, as we just mentioned, but these three factors are the most important ones to get things right. Some people might say that actually having more matte is going to cause you more problems than to have less. I don't share that view. I think think all of these things are important, and matte with all the detail that's possible to get, it's a good thing to have, not a bad thing to have, because it's best to have more and then throw it away if you don't want to have it, rather than not have it as a starting point. The spill is also hugely important. You should tackle the spill in the same way that you tackle matte, in terms of what's the core part and what's the edge part. And then the additive, there's many different processes. Mine is very simple, as I just mentioned many times, but it's something that you should follow any method, or the method that you feel more comfortable with. So let's not forget also that at the end, a tiny bit of massaging in the pixels at the very end can be done. Not my preference, but can be done if it's like just a tiny bit, especially if you have like a very good additive keying. What I mean by this is you can always go with, for example, an erode. What, an erode? Yeah, sometimes very gently. Even 1 pixel might be too much, something like half a pixel. Maybe this will massage things in a good way, for example in here, okay? And maybe this is already a little bit too much, but you have to make these decisions in an informed way, and you have to make sure that at least you have the detail on this part in here. But the detail on the matte side of things is also very important, because probably you will have to at some point render this as a matte for the eye, or you're going to need this as a completely separate render so you can provide it for 3D conversion processes, for example. So the matte on that side of things is also very important, and it's important all around. It's better to have more at the starting point and then throw away the bits that we don't want, rather than the opposite. Because if you don't have it, you're not going to have it at the end by some sort of magic trick. So this is my take on your question, Salvan. I hope I answered this question. I tried to make it as less boring as possible. This is a topic that there's a ton of things out there, and that's why I think it's a little bit boring. But anyway, since we are opening this segment, I just wanted to give you my take on it. Hope you liked it. See you next time. I hope you liked it. I tried to make it a little bit different from the norm, at least to have something original, or more original from the things that you see out there. But this was mainly for the edge problems. This is not a an explanation on how to do a key, okay? Because I wouldn't do things in that way anyway. But for tackling edges, those were the things that I would take in consideration. So from now on, as you know, there's this, there will be, because it's not public yet, but there will be a channel in our Discord server, so you can post some questions, and of course I'll bump the priority for the subscribers. And this is another way to help you guys out there as well. All right. So what it's time for? It's time for the guest, right? So it's been waiting for a long time now. But as I've been saying sometimes, and I've been very fortunate that I have very active people as guests in the community, and today it's one of those cases as well. So some of you might know his name. But some of you probably, even though you know his name, you don't know how he looks like, because he never shows up. So this will be probably a first. So let's see who's on the other side now. MJT is in
Hi,
here. Hey man, how you doing? Thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So as I was saying, a lot of people know you probably from from your lab, as you call it, MJT lab, and sometimes you give some interviews as well. But no, there's not a lot of people, I don't think, apart from probably friends and family, that know how you look like, because you never show up. So today's
I also not using my own voice for the video as well.
Exactly. I noticed that as well. And you have a lot of videos and very interesting stuff. So as I just said, MJT, or which is short obviously for Mark Joey Tang.
You can also call me MJ. What people usually call me
is MJ.
Just
all right,
MJ
cool.
is fine.
But I was saying that MJT Lab, it's it's Mark's Facebook laboratory. I'm gonna call it like this. All right, it might be because that's how you call it. But it's basically where you put all your research and development efforts, and a lot of people. I'm one of them. A lot of people know you because of that, because you've been such an active member on that front in our community. So thank you once again for coming in. But for those people that don't know you, do you want to present yourself to the audience?
Yeah, I'm actually I'm in Montreal. I'm from Canada. But I went to Hong Kong when I was 2 with my parents. So I raised up in Hong Kong, and also I have school in Toronto and my college in California too. And later on,
Okay.
I was start as a web programmer. And then later on, I find my interest in graphic design. So I got a chance to take programming and graphic at the same time. And after that, I find myself interest about animation as well. So I went back to school and then I started my career in VFX. I started in Hong Kong, and then after 7 years, then I started travel around different places. And I'm in Montreal since 2012, which is already 8 years in here already.
Yeah, I want to talk
Yeah.
with you about all of that because you have a very interesting and different, background. I just mentioned some of the things,
Yeah.
but my first question is actually, how the hell do you have time to do all the things that you do while you're still working, all the research and development, and all the videos and all that stuff? How the hell do you have the time, man?
Just after I stepped down to not being a com lead or com silver, whatever, and then I got
You
more
suddenly
time
have
to
more
do
time,
that.
yeah?
Yeah,
By
yeah, that was
magic,
too
yeah.
stressful as taking that position.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
and I want to talk to you about that as well. But you
Hmm.
definitely have some very interesting takes on the subjects that you normally put on your Facebook page. So, by the way, people, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go to, correct me if I'm wrong, MJ, but the page is MJT Lab, right, on
Yeah.
Facebook,
Yeah. Right.
and you'll be able to
Yeah.
see all of those things. Apart from Wikipedia, which is obviously where everyone
Hmm.
goes, but if you want to see things in more detail and in terms of like the process actually that you are taking at a specific moment for a specific task, you go there. And this was actually a legit question for me, like how the hell do you have time, because you do so many things, like every week pretty much you have a bunch of things that because I know from personal
Yeah.
experience that you have to put your mind into it and you have to be in the zone, and it takes some time to be in the zone. When you're in the zone, nothing can bother you, but until you get there it takes a while. And so this was a legit question of mine.
Yeah. That is also because I love puzzling for anything, and also I love crafting. So that's why I would like to spend more time on that as my hobby. I have fun with that.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
having fun with something that you do, it's I would say one of the primary things that you definitely need to check out for. Otherwise, it's going to be just boring, and you're not going to get anything done for sure. Okay, so as you were saying, I want to take a step back. We all know the things that you do these days, but I want to take a step back and
Hmm.
in your journey, because you just mentioned that you are actually from Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And
That's right.
surprise, surprise, you didn't start in this industry. You started in a different industry, right?
Yeah.
Like
That's right. It's
myself as
totally
well.
different.
Completely different. Yeah, like myself. Not in the same industry though, but you were a web developer, right? You started as a
Yeah.
web developer, and you
Yeah.
worked for quite some time, I would say, from what I could see, as a web developer, still back in Hong Kong, right?
Yeah.
And
That
then
was 1999.
1999. All right, so it's been a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah.
It's been a while. But do you wanna tell us about what made you switch to VFX, because it's such a completely different field.
At that time, I'm still finding my career at that moment, and then later on, I in my company I met some graphic designer, and then it's fun. And later on, I find that I'm missing some fundamental theory inside of me, so I think about, oh, it's time to back to school to get something that I like it. So I take the animation course in Hong Kong full time, 2 years, and then yeah, which is I like the most to do in the rest of my life, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cool. And what were the difficulties?
I just having I was working in the web industry about 2 years only, so it's not a big changes for me. So actually,
Okay.
I
So you
just
didn't.
feel exciting. But I'm talking about like in term in work when work in Hong Kong is totally different. In America, is yeah, it's a different story.
In terms of what exactly?
Like I was a compositor, but I also have to deal with so many stuff like the CG render and this mesh moving, contact with the client, on set shooting, and the stuff like that. But here, if you're a compositor, then you will just focus on compositing.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah,
understand what you're
but
saying,
it's
but
not quite.
yeah. Go
But
ahead. Go
that is a
ahead.
quite good experience. Yeah,
Say that again. Sorry, I didn't get that.
that is quite good experience when I look back. That was tough, but it's a
Yeah.
good experience.
I
Yeah.
can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine. I also felt my difficulties, even though, as you were saying, there's an enthusiasm also with it when you transition from
Yeah.
one area to another, and that takes you, that helps you along the way for sure, quite a lot. At least it helped me, and as I can tell by your story, it helped you as well. Because if you have the enthusiasm, if you're having fun, in any point of your life or in any point of your career, of course, that compensates everything. The difficulties, the struggles, the questions that a lot of times probably you also had in your mind. And am I right? And am I doing the right thing, for example, or whatever?
Yeah.
But a curious fact, and correct me if I'm wrong. Soon after you started in VFX, you had the very early on experience on set on
Mhm.
Jet Li's movie Fearless, correct?
Yeah.
As a VFX
Yeah.
supervisor. How was that? How was that experience, given the fact that you were so young in this world, and
Uh,
being on set can be intimidating as well. So I was first of all, how was that? How that experience came about, and how was it basically? Because it's such a an early on go to the jungle now and then try to survive. Pretty much, it was one of those moments, right?
actually, it's not. I'm not the only one on set. There also have my colleague with me too. So I was a little bit nervous at that time.
I can imagine. Yeah.
But yeah, but actually, it's good. I got someone with more experience to support me, and then on set is a little bit different because Hong Kong market is not that big, and then time is the money most of the time like that, and then you can't waste the time on the set. So you have to be careful about that. And also, at the meantime, I have to get closer with the director to understand what they want and also provide what they have to do for our post production when they shooting the shot. So and that helps me about the idea how we process in the post production as well. Like, do we need a tracking marker, or do we how to deal with the green screen? Should that be getting too close or something like that? And this helps a lot.
Yeah, and measures of this green screen, how much green screen do you actually need, and yeah, but that's given the fact that you were so young in the industry and you were thrown for a job like that can be very very stressful.
Yeah.
From a personal experience, I can say that I was pretty stressed, I have to say, and I'm not sure till to this day if it's something that I enjoy, to be honest with you, because it's a completely different world. It's a completely different world, and so that's why I'm asking, like, what was your experience, because you were so young in the industry and being there. But yes, it helps, of course, if you're not by yourself, if you're with someone else that has a lot of experience. Yes, you're aiding, you're helping more than doing the job, probably, as a frontliner. And that also helps, I would say, probably. But then, from what I could see, I don't know if it was because a good or a bad, but you had the bad experience or a good experience with it. You went back into programming, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
kind of. You know
was
what? Why picking Python, and I try to avoid to learn another language anymore because there has so many different programming language coming up, and then I was so tired to keep learning for those
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. So you went back as a program because it was that a conscious decision, as in like I actually don't like VFX that much, so I'm gonna go back to I don't know. I'm asking. Was it because
Yeah,
of
it's,
that?
mm, I still like the industry. It's just I want to explore more things to learn.
Ah,
So yeah, after I stepped back from comp lead, and then I we actually have some problem before when I was a lead, but I don't have time to get involved to solve all the problems. So after I step back, then I get more time.
yeah. All right. Cool. Because I was when I was like prepping for this interview, I was like, wait a second. He went back. Was that because his first experience was so hectic and so horrible that he decided, no, this is actually not for me. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah. So
Yeah,
and
I like math too. So right now I involve a lot of math that I didn't involve that much in the past.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it was actually a few years later, after your journey in VFX back in Hong Kong at that time still, that you decided to go to a different country, different continent in this case, right? So and you end up working at Spin, and you probably, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, probably worked with Erwan. That was one of our past guests.
Yeah,
No?
is he a compositor?
Yeah, it was. Well, I'm not sure at that time, but at some point it was both. From what I remember, it was both a comp supervisor and a head of 2D over there.
Okay, okay.
So that's why I was when I noticed that, probably I said to myself, probably work together. But anyway, because this is a small world, right? So
Yeah.
the chances that we meet each other are very, very high.
I
But
the name sounds familiar to me, but I can't remember. I have a short memory, I guess.
that's okay.
Yeah,
That's okay.
I'm
Well,
sorry
you can
about
always go back. You can
that.
always go back and check if you don't know who I'm talking about. You can always go back and check. I think it was like a couple of episodes ago, so you can check what I'm talking about.
Sure.
But how was that experience? Coming directly from Hong Kong and being like in a completely different, because it's a completely different place, right? I've been in Hong Kong and I really liked it, but of course it's a completely different culture. So how was that experience for you at that time?
I took my high school in Toronto before, so it's not a big difference for me. I just find myself back somewhere that I used to for
Okay.
a little short time, and but the working culture, I mean the office culture is totally different.
In what sense?
Because the pipeline, and also when I work in Hong Kong, we are using After Effects. I know people doesn't like it for comp, but I use After
Sorry, I didn't
Effects.
get that. What did you say that the people don't like?
Don't like After Effects for
Ah,
comp.
After Effects. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, for me it's a big challenge because I have to change from After Effects to Nuke, and then yeah, everything is different for the working environment.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel so exciting because the reason that why I left Hong Kong, because I feel getting a bottleneck and I want to learn more stuff, so I start to go somewhere else.
Yeah, that's always a good thing, and I said this before here. My take on those things is very bluntly: if you're too comfortable anywhere, that's something wrong. There's something wrong, right? No, I'm being serious here. Of course, I'm exaggerating a little bit, and of course, having security in the job is important, and we are actually facing, what we're facing at the moment, where there's no security at all. And this is not good especially for people that have families, but not only. Of course, it's important. But I would say that if you want to push yourself, if you want to learn new things, if you want to progress with your learning curve, because this is, especially this type of job, it's something that you never stop learning. You're constantly learning. So if you're too comfortable, probably you will get like a little bit lazy in terms of like I'm not gonna learn this anymore, or because I'm just too comfortable. Everybody knows me here. I can do whatever. I'm too comfortable, which is a good thing. Don't get me wrong, but it's up to a certain extent, in my view, because otherwise this can cause more harm than good, I would say. What's your take on it? You agree with me as well?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. That is also because I decided to leave Hong Kong. I don't have any burden or anything on my back, so I can just go away and try something else, right?
Yeah.
But right now, I'm in Montreal for 8 years already. I have my family. I have my house here. If I want to go somewhere else, I have to consider so many things. Like
yeah, of course. Yeah.
it's
Yeah, I
hard,
can imagine. Because I was about to ask you that, also linking, this conversation that we were just having, when you decided to leave Hong Kong, which is you decided, and I'm sure that there was multiple reasons for that Canada would be actually your place to be, and it's been, as you just mentioned, 8 years since you set foot there, right? So. Was that a conscious decision, like, do you think? Because a lot of, since our jobs in this type of job, and we're not the only case, by the way, but we have to travel, or we don't have to, but it's important to travel a bit. And you never know what's going to happen a lot of times, right? You never know. You never know. Which is part of the fun, I would say, which is part of the fun. So since you come from a completely different culture, and then of course you wanted to experiment new things and all that stuff, and you had like so many different experiences, not only in Hong Kong but also after that moment, was that like a conscious decision, you think, like, I really want to be here because of the lifestyle or something like that, or was like where life took you, and it's probably the case, right?
yeah. Also, especially right now, if you know what happened in Hong Kong, I think here is the best place for me. And also for myself, I still a Canadian. I feel here is my country as well. I'm a person that doesn't like to stay in too hot, so Canada is also good too. It's very cold in here.
Hong Kong in terms of weather and lifestyle is so different. I really liked it when I was there. But without a doubt that it's very, very different.
After minus 15, there's no any different anymore.
that's
it's just freezing cold and you feel nothing.
Just one more question for everyone. Not a question, but everyone that guys, if you have any questions for NJ, please post them, and we'll try to read them all. At the moment, I don't think there's any question for you yet. We'll see if there's questions coming at some point, but at the moment there's no questions, just people talking about random stuff. But they're saying that they love you, they love your work.
Thank you so
that's
much.
That's a very good thing. You have fans in here. All right. Me included as well, by the way.
Thank you. I love you too.
So one question that I also would like to ask you is, and you already alluded a little bit regarding what I'm about to ask you, is you wore a lot of different hats during your career. You worked from a compositor to lead to VFX supervisor, and you wore all of those different hats. Was that a conscious decision, like going with different roles all the way, or it was just because it was like the opportunity was there and you just decided, yes, this is what I want to do because it's what's available?
Yeah, I would say that that is because there are so many stuff to deal with. I'm not a type to have a good management, so I think I better to step back to do a support role as well.
Because without a doubt that you still do a lot of stuff. So my question was basically, well, if you want to run away, so to speak, from the extra work, you're still doing extra work, right? But at least it's on your own. That's basically what the difference is,
for
right?
My own fun,
Yeah, for your own fun and development as well, because when we do research and development like that, even though in this case, and I thank you for that in the name of the community, this is my take on it, you know, you are contributing to everyone's lives as well, in terms of, you know, things that they can use and that they can learn. But without a doubt, that takes a lot of effort. But with that effort, you also learn a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
I see myself learning so much when I'm developing, and a lot of times, and I said this here many times as well, I want to quit so bad, man, so many times when I'm developing a tool that is now, I think that I don't have the knowledge for it, and a lot of times I don't. So I have to go into the hard path of researching, you know, getting some books, read some stuff on the internet, a lot of tabs open in my in my Google Chrome and all that stuff until I make it work. And you know, it's within the process you see like this light at the end of the tunnel that, you know, makes you going, you know, for a little bit more of time, and until you get the final result. Basically, that's what it happens to me. But without a doubt, that's with a, you know, with a lot of effort. So I thank you for your effort on that front, because you're contributing to everyone's lives, I would say.
I'm happy to hear that, because why I'm open a page for this kind of stuff, that is because the people that I'm working with, sometimes some people might not very interested to what I find or what I'm studying, what I learn. So I would prefer to make it open to everyone to understand what I learn. If anyone interested, then talk to me or message me. Then I feel I got a company to talk about that too. So
yeah. Definitely, you have people watching your stuff. That's for sure, man. That's all I can say.
But even without any people watching, I'm still very happy that I learned something that I don't know in the past too.
Exactly. That's what I was saying before. There's so many things that you learn with the process of trying to do something, in this case for others. That it's a great thing. It's great. It's it really is. By the way, how's things pandemic wise over there?
For my company, it doesn't affect things too much, since the company that I'm working right now is not that big, around 30 people.
Okay.
But from what I heard, the other companies in Montreal, they lay off some people, and also some people they are looking for a job that I still don't know. But seems everything is getting better, because I heard there's some company they hire back the people that they lay off before. And
okay, that's good. And working, you know, from home, like the distance thing, and you know, the compression problems and all that stuff, all good over there as well.
Sometimes it's hard, because most of the projects are for TV right now, and they mostly are 4K.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that. It's so hard to play back, especially the TV show. Their shot is pretty long too, most of the time, like 2,000 frames or something like that. With 4K is terrible.
Oh, fucking hell. 2,000 frames. Wow. Yeah, that's no good. All right. Well,
but
listen.
I still like to work from home, because I save the time for the travel right now, and I'm a person that like to stick with.
I think it's gonna be here to stay. Probably not in the exact same way as we have it at the moment, because this is like, at the moment, it's a mandatory thing, right? You don't have any other option. Well, you do, and I mentioned this maybe a month ago or something. Some companies, especially in Germany, I don't know why Germany, but from this is my knowledge of what's happening in the industry. Some companies are already having people working in the office in Germany. Now that the cases are on the rise again, I'm not sure if that's going to change. But nevertheless, whether this is going to change back and forth at the moment, well, we're still dealing with this in the midst of all of these things. I think this way of working, or this flexibility, I think it's here to stay, because this was a really big door that has been opened, that now it's going to be very difficult to shut. And I honestly think that this is going to be good for everyone, you know, from companies to individuals, to clients, because, you know, it's more about flexibility, and it's been proven that nothing bad will happen. There's actually a question for you. Where is the compositor's position when VP is big feature in our industry? So I think our viewer that I'm not gonna dare pronounce your name. I'm sorry. Maybe you can help me, MJ, but I can't pronounce his name.
I can't either.
What's
Yeah,
that?
I can't either. Just
You
keep
can
going.
either. All right. So I think what he's referring to, he or she, is the fact that we're talking about, or more and more is being used in the industry, especially because of the fact that we cannot go outside so much. And plus, there's many other advantages, with the LED kind of panels. So things like the thing that I was actually talking about in this new segment about edges and all that stuff, like green screens and all of that stuff, probably will disappear. That's I think my understanding of this question. So I don't think that's. Do you want to answer that first, MJ?
No, I don't want to give some answer that I'm not confident to. So
Listen, I don't think that will be, because there's so many things that we can do. Compositing is yes, it's a great deal of what we do is green screens, blue screens, and all that stuff. But there's so much more that we do. So I don't think that will be like a problem, a menace. And by the way, I don't think anything that we are talking about or new things that are coming are menacing for our jobs. I think there's some parts of our job that we will benefit with the fact that there's new technologies, because, for example, things like roto and king extractions and all that stuff, all of those like more tedious kind of or repetible kind of tasks. Yes, I think if we have tools that will do that for us, I think everyone will applaud to that. But there's a lot of other things that we have to do still. So I don't think new technologies will be something that it's going to be bad for the industry or for our jobs in particular as compositors. I think it's going to be a good thing, not a bad thing, because it will create more opportunities as well.
Yeah, I also want to add up one more thing that that's why you always have to keep the ambition for learning, so you can do more things in the future. And also, compositing is just a title or a position, and later on might get more technology can replace that, but at least you got the foundation how to do it. So if any problem that automatic doesn't work, then you know the old school style to how to make it work too.
Yeah, exactly. And again, we're gonna link this with the very beginning of the show, which is this is a great time for you to learn new stuff, because the technology, due to the fact that we are, productions cannot happen the same way as before. You are at home. There's new technology also being developed, of course, for mandatory reasons in terms of like exchange of signal. We just mentioned that at the moment we still have issues with compression and all that stuff for this type of work environment at the moment. All of those things will be developed in a much faster pace now that it's the need is here. So not only that side of things will develop, a lot of other things will come up for sure because of this problem. So the more you're prepared, the better you'll be when this will be over. So this is a great time for you to learn new things. But in regards to your question, I don't think that will be something to be worried about. I think it's going to be something to be excited about, not worry about.
Yeah, I agree with you.
There's another question, which is from Mauricio, one of our loyal viewers as well. And the question is, just out of curiosity, you have done a lot of tools for Nuke. What do you prefer working on these days or nowadays? Developing tools or comping shots?
Comping shots.
All right.
Actually, I'm not too technical. I just feel more creative than technical, like how to achieve something that out of the box. So if I'm not comping a shot, then I don't know what difficulties I have, right? And also, as I said, I'm not very technical. Actually, I just like to do something to solve the problem that I have.
Yeah, I think if you don't mind me add something to what you just mentioned, And of course, we don't know personally each other, so probably I'm going to step a little bit over what I think, is going to be the reality. But I think you are technical. Of course, you are technical. The thing I think you're trying to get at is you don't have all this knowledge, probably just because you were born with it. You had to research to do that stuff, right? And that's exactly my take on these things as well. Some people might think that people that develop tools, and we are a couple of examples of these type of people. The people that don't do that, they might think that we have some sort of special powers, or we were born with a special type of knowledge or whatever, and that's just bullshit. You know what I mean? That's
my power is from Google.
Exactly. It's all about research. Now, what I can say is it takes a lot of effort to keep researching and to not, because a lot of times, and I mentioned this here just a while ago, I want to quit so bad because I cannot find the answer. I don't understand what I'm doing at some point, but you learn with the process so much, and that's all. We all do the same thing. We had guests in this show that we've just mentioned, some of them really technical, and we all share the same views about these things. Nobody was born with a special knowledge about this or about that. Like, everything in life, if you want to know something about something, you have to do the research. There's no other way around, right? I think that's what your take is about this stuff, right, MJ?
That's what I'm doing. And also, actually, nowadays it's easier to learn some stuff or solving the problem that you have because we have internet. Back to the old days, there's no internet. It's really hard, and you have to know which book you have to find to solve your problems, right? But right now, if you just go on internet and type your problem, and then there's a bunch of results to show you, and you have to learn it. It's totally different.
Definitely.
But right now, you can learn anything by yourself too.
Yeah. There's a lot of documentation, especially things like Python and all that stuff. And I also mentioned this here when I was starting out the documentation. When I was starting out in terms of Python, the documentation was like really, it was not sufficient for sure, and it was really confusing as well because there was not a program like telling you, okay, you do this first and then you progress to this stuff. Everything was like a mess and a mix of so from someone that is starting out, that can be very, very confusing. Anyway, you know what's time for now, right?
Note fight.
No, you do. Note fight. There you go. Do you want to do it?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, all right, man. Let's do the note fight now. All right. So, let's start. This is completely random, by the way, all right? So, matching animated defocus, like rec focus, for example.
For the amount that will be eyeball to measure the amount, but like for the red focus distance, then I may, if that is built from 3D, then I have a tool that's called scene depth calculator. So you can set the point, and then that will take the camera to calculate the distance changes in the shot.
Cool, nice one. Matching grain.
Just eyeball with the grain or the scan grain, or usually we'll work with the degrain plate and then subtract the grain, and then we'll use the scan grain to dial the extra grain on it, or even the normal grain.
Cool, nice one. Chromatic aberration, favorite process?
I don't have specific one. I just pull out the one from my company. Okay, Chromatic, then I use it.
There you go. Cool. All right. Reflections.
Reflection. If that is a flat surface, I have a trick with the point cloud. Otherwise, that if the shape is curved, it's not a flat shape, then I will use spray render.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Dry to wet.
Dry to wet. Try to wet just roto and color grade the area, maybe.
Color grading. All right, cool, nice. Yeah. All right, let's do a couple more. Starfield.
Starfield. I don't have. I skipped this one.
You skip this one. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, you can skip, of course. Yeah.
I don't have a different one, and I didn't work with anything before.
Okay. Aging.
Aging. I will use the plate color and the C depth.
Cool, nice one. And let's do the final one, yeah? Heat refraction.
Heat refraction, you mean heat wave?
Yeah.
Yeah, recently I just saw that someone updated their tools. It's called heat wave on Wikipedia, which is pretty neat.
Yeah. That's the one?
That was, yeah, heat wave.
Cool, nice. Yeah, man, you did great.
Thank you.
How was that? It was easy, right?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's easy. Yeah.
People, when they agree to do that, some people say, "Well, I'm not too sure because it's well, I'm up for it," but they think that they're gonna hear the clock, but there's no clock for anyone but the public, right? So you're not hearing the clock, so you don't feel that extra pressure.
Yeah, and also sometimes you might find that the same thing, different person they use different approach too. So this is interesting about this part. Yeah.
All right. You know what? Now I'm gonna ask your help, if you agree, to do our very first giveaway. Do you want to do that with me? Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. So the giveaway will be a piece of merchandising, official merchandising from this channel, okay? So I'm not going to say which one is going to be, okay? That's going to be a surprise, but for those of you that would like to be eligible to win this right now, you have to type giveaway on the chat, all right? Because some of you might not be interested, so this is like my way of filtering some, those of you that would like to be eligible for this. Wow, so many people. I'm just seeing now the chat. There's a lot of people here. Okay, guys, listen, this is going to be completely random, and it's going to be the bot who's going to pick up the winner, okay? In any case, one of you will win this, okay? So the person that is going to give the order to roll it is going to be MJ. So when you say roll it, this is going to be rolled, okay? You can say roll it anytime you want, MJ. It's on you now.
Roll it.
Milos. My buddy from DNAG. Milos won the giveaway. Cool, man.
Congratulations.
Nice one. Congratulations, Milos. I'll be in touch with you, okay? This was actually a good one because I know Milos, so it's going to be easy for me to, to be in contact with him. But this was fun. This was not like a completely flawless kind of process. I'm aware of that, okay, guys? So be gentle, okay? But congrats anyway, all right? So Milos, you're gonna win. You're gonna win a piece of merchandise, okay? That is just brand new, and you're gonna be the first one to have it. Anyway, MJ, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you
so much for playing everything from Notify to the Roll It kind of giveaway that we just did now.
Thank you for inviting me. And
sure, of course, yeah. Guys, thank you once again. Next week we're going to have the next episode. Congrats, Milos, once again. And MJ, please stay on. And we're gonna have a final chat between us. Guys, in the meanwhile, stay cool and be safe. Bye-bye. See you guys.